You know, to be honest with you guys, when it comes to this storyline right here, I was kind of disappointed. And the reason why, because there was this huge build of the idea of, okay, Adversary is coming very soon for Forge. X Factor needs to work together to hopefully take down this powerful character. And I don't know, I was kind of expecting some more stuff to happen in his two-part story arc, but at the same time, it's kind of like, you know what? It was a good ending for the whole story arc of the return of Adversary. Because the Adversary is this powerful character that comes from a different dimension, better known as the dimension of chaos. Now, for the Adversary, his main goal is to come into this reality and reshape it in his own image. And so for Adversary, he has been doing this for decades or centuries, who knows how long. But here's the thing. You see, for Forge, he belongs to a Native American tribe that has been fighting against the Adversary for many years. And so Forge is the next person in line. The problem is that Forge is no longer trying to tap into his magical side. And for me personally, I kind of feel like it's all because of his mutant ability when it comes to working on machines, because he believes technology should be good enough to take down the Adversary. The problem is that we're now at that point where he's the last man standing. Naze, his mentor, is no longer around. And so it's him and X Factor trying to use different kinds of weapons that he had created, hoping that these weapons will be good enough to bring down Adversary. Now, let's not forget, Lady Roma is there as well. And for Lady Roma, she's trying her best to express her feelings to Forge. And not in a way like, hey, you know, I like you and all. No, it's more of like, hey, I have some major concerns. Like, the Adversary is coming, and you are not trying to use magic to take him down. You're trying to use technology, believing that'll be good enough to take him down. No, your mentor told me and told you as well, you need to tap into your roots to bring him down. But Forge is not trying to listen at all. And the thing is, she's a very powerful character herself because she is the protector of the multiverse around this time in Marvel Comics. And the thing is, she is right because the Adversary is already there. And yes, for Forge, he was able to kind of put up a shield around the area. And while he did send out different members out there to kind of watch over different areas to stop the Adversary, Mystique is taken out just like that, where you had the Adversary begin to tap into her mind. Now, we have to put a brief pause on that storyline right there because there is another storyline we have to talk about, which is Sabretooth. You see, for Sabretooth, he was a major character over in X-Men comics, where it was the idea of Charles Xavier trying his best to fix the mind of the dude. But the problem was Charles had failed. And the thing was, Val Cooper was supposed to take Sabretooth over to a prison. Well, she just got word from the doctors who had been working on Sabretooth that he'll be joining the team. Kind of like Mystique, where there's going to be a device on him that will stop him from hurting other people on the team. Because as soon as he tries, there'll be a small shock to his brain to bring him down. Now, for Val Cooper, she had no idea about this movement being done on her team. She's kind of like, wait a second, you're telling me that this creature will be on my team? Oh, hex no. And so for her goal is to talk to her boss. But now we transition back over to X Factor and Forge. Now, for Forge, is him kind of being confronted by Mystique, who was just recently taken over by Adversary. Now, Adversary is the trickster, right? So it's him saying like, let's play some mind games on Forge here. Because for Forge and Mystique, it was always the will they, won't they, you know? Could they possibly become a couple? Because, well, Mystique is bad and Forge is good. But either way, you have Mystique confront Forge, and it's kind of like it's him using her to bring down the guard of Forge. But Forge kind of like, no, we gotta be on our A game here because Adversary could appear any moment now. And so you didn't have Mystique being able to fight back against the control of Adversary. And Forge realized that she's being currently used by the Adversary. Now for Adversary, he realized that yes, what he heard is correct. Forge is no longer trying to use his magical side to fight against him. He's like, oh, great. Only technology? That is your biggest mistake. Now, for Val Cooper, she's still very upset about Sabretooth being put on her team. So she goes over to her boss. Now, her boss tells her in a nice way, like, hey, listen, you work for me and you do what I tell you to do. But also, let me tell you this right now. This order did not come from me. It came from the higher up. So unfortunately, you don't have a choice here. Now, sorry for the ones who hate the idea of me repeating myself, but it's the Adversary trying to make an example of Forge here. Like, dude, look, you are supposed to use magic as a way to stop me. But instead of trying to using magic, you're trying to use weapons, technology, and that right there is not going to work on me at all. And so you have Adversary destroy the weapons that Forge made to hopefully bring him down. And he does not even stop there, because then you have the Adversary being able to kill off all the members of X Factor except for Forge. And then he walks over to Forge and says, there goes your hand, there goes your leg. And no, by the way, I'm going to take her, Lady Roma, with me as well. And so just like that, in a matter of pages, Forge lost to Adversary and lost everyone close to him. Now, at the very last second, we do see that somebody will help Forge find a way to defeat Adversary, and that would be Naze. He's not dead. He's survived. He's kind of like, hey, it's time for me once again to be your mentor, but to also help you learn the best way to bring your friends back to life, but to also, stop the person I have been trying to help you stop all these years. And so as we dive into the second chapter, it's now really more of us kind of seeing Forge having this flashback to a time of the war. Now, in the early days of Forge's life, he kind of left behind the magical life to a degree and fought in a war where, unfortunately, his whole entire team was killed off. Now, you did have Forge use a powerful spell that kind of involved giving up the souls of his dead comrades and the power of the Adversary to win a certain battle he was part of. Now, here's the problem, though, because while having this flashback, instead of seeing the different people who was part of that flashback originally, he now sees different members of X Factor. He's kind of like, wait a second, that did not happen. Like, Mystique was not there. Wild Child was not there. Now Polaris. What in the world is currently going on? And so once you do have Forge wake up, he's once again confronted by Naze. Now, this is Naze saying like, okay, Forge, listen very carefully. Like, we got to rebuild you. Like, you're trying to give up because you believe that because you have not used that powerful spell many years ago, the same spell that could most likely stop the Adversary, you kind of abandon your magical side, that you believe that you're no longer able to win. But here's the thing. Look at you right now. You lost your arm and leg, your machine arm and leg, to Adversary, but you were able to rebuild that. And so now we have to rebuild you, meaning that we got to tap back into your magical side and use those powers to hopefully find a way to bring him down. And we also learn here that Lady Roma is okay. And she's like, hey, listen, he's right. We got to tap into your magical side. Now, we kind of have to jump back over to the plot line going on with Sabretooth, where it's Val Cooper going to a higher ranking person in the government and kind of ask them like, why in the world would you think this would be a good idea to put this man on my X Factor team? Because this man has connections to a lot of people on the team. But for this person, he doesn't care. To him, it's kind of like, yeah, I know he does, but I feel like it's the best thing for us all. And also, I feel like he'll be a great asset. Now, it's also kind of saying like, hey, let's not forget, he's wearing a collar, and that collar prevents him from attacking different people on the team, kind of like Mystique's chip in her brain. Now, We don't get the chance to figure out who is this mysterious person making this move, but either way, it does seem like he'll become somewhat important later on. Now, getting back over to Forge, it's now us seeing Forge trying to regain what he lost. And so you had Naze take Forge over to this mountain, right? And this is the mountain where Storm was deceived by Adversary, which led to her stabbing Forge in the chest. And so you have Naze bring out the knife that she had used on him and saying, this right here is kind of like you losing your side of you, your magical side of you. But also on the other hand, here is a nullifier that you had created that can shut down a mutant ability. These two weapons, these two things represent the two sides of you, magical, but also machine. These two sides need to come together if you are going to be able to take down the adversary. And so just like that, you have Forge realize that he needs both magic and technology to work together to bring down his opponent. Now, while you have that going on, you do have Lady Roma trying her best to hold the adversary off long enough to allow Forge the possibility of bringing him down, to be ready enough to bring down the adversary. Now, for Forge, he kind of realized what he has to do here if he wants to win. He has to use the same spell he used many years ago when it came to him back in the war, the same spell he used when won battle back in the war, but also use magic and technology working together to bring down the adversary, because he realized that that spell he used was not to be used to destroy, but to bring life. And so you have Forge use the spell all over again to bring back to life his fallen comrades, the different members of X Factor. But after doing that, he was then able to use technology as a way to channel the magic inside of him to bring chaos inside the trickster, inside adversary, sending him away once again. Now, here's the thing. Adversary is not dead. He will always come back. But the thing is, Forge must be ready to protect this reality as long as he's alive to make sure the adversary cannot win. But this is where we're going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see you next time. Later.